And we're live.
We're
I will
live.
eat quietly.
All right, we want to call this meeting to order, and Teresa, would you give the roll call, please?
Trustee Burgo,
Here.
trustee Gregg, trustee Johnson,
Here.
trustee Young,
Here.
trustee Lazio,
Here.
trustee Lemunion, trustee Pandolfi,
Here.
trustee Stepp, trustee Thewas, trustee Thompson, trustee Wilson, and trustee Wyckoff.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
All right. Would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. So the invocation tonight is going to be built around a particular verse of scripture, Proverbs 25:11. And it happens to say, I'm going to read a couple of different versions, as I really love this verse. And it says, like apples of gold and settings of silver is a word spoken in right circumstances. A little different version, like apples of gold and settings of silver is a word spoken at the right time. So with that in mind, this is gonna kind of just help us flow together and just the way we live our lives out each day. And so have you ever had somebody walk up to you out of nowhere and give you an encouragement or an encouraging word that just it was the exact thing you needed to hear at the time you needed to hear it? Anybody ever had that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so powerful. It could change an entire day, change your outlook on everything. Well, that's what this verse means, like apples of gold and settings of silver, the words spoken in right circumstances. So I want to live out my life that way. Okay. And sometimes I'm looking for opportunities to do that very thing, just a word of encouragement. And I honestly need encouragement. You need encouragement. All right. There's times when you just don't feel like engaging anywhere or anything because, the weight of trials, tribulations, everybody has trials and tribulations. If we're going through this life, we're going to have those things. And so I just want to encourage everyone tonight, be looking for someone to encourage. Okay, throughout your days in the library, wherever your travels take you, I'm always, I've learned over the years to actually look. And if I see someone that I believe needs encouragement, I'll just walk up to them and give them a word of encouragement. And the smile that comes across people's faces, it's amazing. And they just can't say thank you fast enough. I really needed that. I don't know how you knew that I needed that. And, I just smile and, so I just want to encourage all of us in our daily lives, in the libraries, people we work with, people we work around, just kind of have this on your heart as you navigate through everyday's life, trial, tribulations, okay? Because I guarantee it'll make a difference in you and it'll make a difference in someone else, okay? So if you want to pray with me, Father, we just thank you for this word. Or would you help us navigate through life with this on our hearts and our minds to really encourage someone like your word happens to say. We thank you in the Lord's name. Amen. Approval of agenda, and I have a note here. In the interest of time, I would like to rearrange the order of the agenda to allow our guests to present first. We will move the agenda item 10, new business to position following agenda item 4, visitors' comments. Okay. So we're making a shift there. And so with that in mind, the approval of the agenda, I ask for a motion. All right, it's been first and seconded. Teresa, would you take the vote, please?
Trustee Burgo. Aye. Trustee Gregg. Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Lemunion. Trustee Pandolfi.
Aye.
Trustee Stepp. Trustee Thebes. Trustee Thompson.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson. And Trustee Wyckoff. Thank you. Just as a reminder, our technology department has asked us to, when you speak into the mic, if you make sure the green light is on. And then when you're done, then just hit it back.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that. So yes, make sure your microphones are on. Mine's on.
It worked really good. It worked really, really well. But the people online and on YouTube and everything cannot hear you. The mic is on.
So since these are a new, we just had these, what, a couple months now? Yeah, we're working on it. So we don't all function yet with pushing the button and all of that stuff. So give it.
Press it, hold it till it turns green, and then press it, hold it till it turns off.
Yeah. So thank you for bearing with us on that and bearing with me personally. So the approval of the consent agenda, we have a motion for the approval of consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda be approved.
Thank you. So, Teresa, would you take the roll?
Trustee Burgo. Trustee Gregg. Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi.
Aye.
Trustee Thewes.
Yeah.
Trustee Stepp. Trustee Thompson
Aye.
and Trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries.
So the approval of the minutes, have a motion to approve the minutes from September 16th, 2025. Oh, that's all part of that. Okay. Sorry. Apologize. So we're going to ask for, there are no in-person visitors. Any related correspondence received via the board email account is attached in board docs. So if you need to view any of that, that's where you may find those. I want to welcome our visitors. All right. So welcome Hood Associates. Welcome Ralph Johnson and Company. Steeple Company and Colonel Rockhoff. Welcome. All right, the order that we're going. Me? All right. So Steve, if you could join us. Yeah, I think, is that who we're doing first? No, oh, we're doing the auditors. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
That's the financial people.
Okay, all right, you got it. All right. So Jeremy, do you want to introduce our?
Before I introduce the audit firm, too many things here. Before we introduce the auditors, I just want to go through a few slides with you all. I'll flip to the next one. Tonight, we're presenting the annual comprehensive financial report, as well as the annual audit. The comprehensive annual financial report is for the fiscal year that began July 1, 2024 and ended June 30th, 2025. So we're going to present this document to you. The auditors will give their presentation, and then I have a few highlights about the report that I'd like to share with you after that. So if you want to flip to the next slide. A common question is, just what is the annual comprehensive financial report and why is it useful? I would say that this is our main document to provide fiscal accountability and financial transparency to the taxpayer, to the board, and also to the patrons of our district. So just diving into this document, it starts with an introductory section. In that section, you'll find a letter called the transmittal letter that's written by Aaron and I, which explains a little bit of what happened throughout the year and gives some updates on what our goals and our objectives were for the year. In addition to that, we have a listing of principal officers that were part of the organization, both on the board and in staff as of June 30, 2025. There's a map of all the branches. There's an organizational chart for the entire district, and there's a copy of the Certificate of Achievement on Excellence in Financial Reporting that was awarded to the library by the Government Finance Officers Association for the last year's completed ACFR, or Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. The library was first awarded this honor back in 2011 and has received it every year since. So it's something we're very proud of. We work very diligently with our auditors and the finance team to ensure that the document is comprehensive, is easy to follow, and follows all regulations and stipulations for that award. The next section is called the finance section. This is what we'd call the heart or the heartbeat of the report. So in it, you'll find the auditor's report, which they'll go over with you in just a few minutes. A document called the Management Discussion and Analysis. Me personally, I think this is the document that I would consider to be the summary of this entire report. Within those pages, you'll find the assumptions that were made, a comparison to the previous fiscal year, and reasons or analysis, if you will, for the financial condition of the library. So if you don't have time to go through the whole document, or you just want to get a brief summary, that management discussion and analysis is a great place to start. Along with that, we have the basic financial statements, and then required supplementary information and other supplementary information, excuse me. And then the last section is the statistical section. And this is a section that provides a 10-year comparable data set of various elements within the organization. So if you're curious what revenues were 8 years ago compared to last year, that's where you would go. If you're curious what population trends have been, that's where you would go, things of that nature. So those are the three main sections of the document we're going to talk about. And with that, I will turn it over to Colin Secco, who is with the audit firm Hood and Associates.
Thank you, Jeremy. I will be presenting the results of the audit for the fiscal year June 30th, 2025, in association with Ralph C. Johnson and Company. A little bit about Hood and Associates. We serve Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas since 1992. Every few years, we go through a peer review where another accounting firm reviews our quality controls and our work. As a result of that, we've been awarded the highest rating given. We are members of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the AICPA. We are members of the AICPA Government Audit Quality Center, and we are also licensed in Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and Texas. The scope of the audit. We were engaged to perform an audit of the financial statements of the Consolidated Library District Number 3, known as Mid-Continent Public Library, for the year ended June 30th, 2025. Next, we have management's responsibilities. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, otherwise known as GAAP. This includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Management is also responsible for following laws and regulations, ensuring that financial information is reliable and properly reported, and implementing systems designed to achieve compliance with applicable laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. Our responsibility as auditors. Our responsibility includes conducting our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and the standards applicable to financial audits contained in government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States of America and the Uniform Guidance. We are responsible for planning and performing our audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but is not absolute, and therefore is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards will always detect material misstatements when they exist. We take a risk-based approach and do not test all transactions, and therefore cannot provide absolute assurance. We report on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with laws and regulations. On the next page here, we have the Auditing Standards Board of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, AICPA, recommends that we communicate the following matters to the board. Illegal acts, none came to our attention as a result of performing our audit procedures. Changes in significant accounting policies. There were no significant changes to accounting policies in the current period. Future pronouncements are discussed in the management letter. There were no difficulties or disagreements with management. And we had full cooperation and access to the books and records for all items that we selected for testing. Next, we have the financial and compliance audit. This addresses three basic questions. Are the basic financial statements free of material misstatement? We have issued an unmodified opinion that the library's financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. This is referred to as a clean opinion, which is the highest level we can provide. Our internal controls over financial reporting adequately designed and operating effectively. We did not identify any deficiencies related to internal control over financial reporting that we consider to be material weaknesses. If there were, we would be required to report those to the governing board. Did the library comply in all material respects with the finance-related laws and regulations? The results of our testing disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. Management letter comments. Other management letter comments contain suggestions for best practices and possible improvements in internal controls noted in the conduct of the audit. These include lease and subscription-based information technology or technology arrangements reporting, cybersecurity, and future accounting pronouncements. Management has provided their responses in the smaller document provided. And with that, I would like to thank Aaron Mason, Jeremy Wilmoth, and all the staff for their help on the audit, and Ralph C. Johnson as well for the help. Had a great time. Is there any questions? Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have just a few more slides and then we'll move on. So looking specifically at the document on page 14 is the balance sheet. The cash and investments for the entire organization was $49.46 million. Our current liabilities, that would be anything that's owed within 1 year, is $16.18 million, which illustrates that the library has sufficient funds to cover the current obligations. However, as you recall from our budget discussion, our tax year and our fiscal year do not align. And so the ratio is somewhat misleading, as we'll see on this next slide. You'll recall this slide from the budget presentation. The green line is showing our revenues by month, and then the yellow line are our expenditures by month. And so for 9 months out of our fiscal year, we have expenditures higher than revenue. And for 3 months out of the fiscal year, then it's the opposite. And so the cash that's on hand at June 30 has to be sufficient to cover all operations until the middle of December. And so I think it's important that we just keep that in mind, that, you know, when you see that we have $49 million in cash, it seems like a lot of money for an organization this size, but most of that is money that was collected last December and has to last until we get to next December. Next slide, please. Zeroing in just on the general fund now, on pages 14 is the balance sheet, and then on page 16 is the statement of revenue and expenditures for the general fund. The cash in the general fund was 27.5 million. The expenses for all of the last fiscal year were 66.9 million. So if you divide that, we have just about 5 months operating cash on hand. And you'll note just to the left there that the revenues exceeded expenses by 1.5 million, or a little more than 2.25%. The next slide is looking at 3 things. The unassigned fund balance. So this would be the amount of resources that the library has that has no attachment or assignment or designation on it, is the green bar. The yellow bar is the amount of cash at the end of each fiscal year, and then the red bar is revenue. And you'll note that for the 3 years from the farthest left to the center, revenue is essentially flat, and that was primarily due to the voluntary reduction to the property tax levy that the library had. The last year, not this audit year, but the year before that, the adjustment was a Hancock adjustment. And then in the last year, the board voted to restore the levy, and that's where you see the revenue growth. And I believe there's one more slide. Yes, this is a slide just focusing a little bit on the debt. For those that may not be aware, the library in 2018 issued roughly $73 million in debt. As you can see on this chart, since then, we have paid off about 25.5 million of that debt, excuse me, which leaves us with current debt at June 30 of 47.4 million. And that if you were to take that amount of debt and divide it by our assessed valuation, that's less than 0.25%. And so that is my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. So, motion, approval of a recommendation for the Finance and Audit Committee to the full board at the 24-25 comprehensive annual report and audit as presented. So can I receive a motion? In a second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay.
On table. I haven't checked all the rest of these.
Thank you, Joycelyn.
All these questions.
Any discussion? Teresa, you take the vote, please.
Trustee Burgo, trustee Gregg,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Lazio,
Aye.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Stepp, trustee Thebes, trustee Thompson,
Yes.
and trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carried.
All right, Jeremy, back to you, my friend.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Colin.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Steeple with us to present on the selection of an underwriter for the certificate of participation refunding we are considering. So I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's a privilege to be here with you tonight. My name is Michael Short with Steeple Nicholas. I'm here with my colleagues Connor Swanson and Bradley Reeves, who assist me with this transaction. Absent tonight is your bond counsel, Rick McConnell from Kutak Rock. He had a conflict and couldn't be here. So I will discuss the resolution that he prepared in his absence and do my best to answer questions you might have about that. We deal with these resolutions regularly, so it will not be a mystery. By way of background, we were hired as the district's financial advisor a few months ago to work on the potential refunding of the 2018 certificates that Jeremy just referenced. By coincidence or not, we served as the financial advisor in 2018 for that transaction. Some of you are recognized around the table having been here at that time. We had the foresight then to build an 8-year call into that provision, and that 8 years is about to come up. So it is an opportune time now to look at refunding that transaction to potentially save the district about $2.7 million the last time we ran numbers. Rates are anticipated to decrease a little bit, and so we hope that that will get a little better in the next few weeks. So we are here tonight on a process of selecting a bond underwriter. We are the financial advisor, not the bond underwriter. So our job is to help you find one. Find a firm that can underwrite the bonds. Stifel does underwrite bonds. We do more than most actually in the region and certainly more than in the state. But in this instance, we serve as financial advisor. And that becomes a benefit to you, I think, as we work down the process, because we know the questions to ask of these underwriters as they get ready to offer bonds for sale. So we went through an RFP process, released that on September the 30th. A memo should have been distributed to you, I believe, in your packet that outlines the responses. We had a very good response, which I anticipated. This is a good, solid financial district. The story is good. It is an attractive opportunity for a lot of different bond underwriters. So we reviewed all of those and scored them as we do using some objective criteria, some subjective criteria. I mean, we know these firms, most of them. If we didn't know them, they didn't score us highly because that means they're not doing much business around here. So we scored those and ultimately we have some summaries attached to the memo for you. There are two spreadsheets. The first one with the highlighted yellow is the top scorer by qualifications and experience. And that was not the low proposal for fee. I want you to know the second sheet shows that they were not the lowest fee proposal. And we can talk about that in a little bit more detail. This is one of those situations where firms that don't have as much experience seek to buy it by entering a fee that in our estimation is simply too low to do the job and do the job properly. So ultimately, we recommend that you retain the firm of Raymond James to serve as bond underwriter in this transaction. They are a very, very qualified firm. We have worked with them many times. We compete with them, frankly, regularly as well. But we know those bankers. We know they are capable. They just did a transaction with us for the Cass County Public Library District, and they did a very nice job, very professional. When we're looking at how the work is done, we look at how they respond to our suggestions about rates and how things need to be adjusted. We look at their adherence to timelines. Do they respect the schedules that are established and what issuers need? We look at, finally, the overall execution. Did they sell the bonds well? And they did that in that instance. They have a lot of other experience, particularly selling certificates of participation, which are at issue here, which is a lease purchase style of financing. And that requires a little bit different approach. These are not general obligation bonds. They're also not revenue bonds tied to a certain sales tax revenue stream. So it's a little bit of a different discussion with the sales force when you're selling lease purchase financing obligations. And they know how to do it, and they did it well. So that is our recommendation. I would be happy to answer questions. Along with that comes the resolution that was prepared by bond counsel, which essentially says that you are hiring Raymond James for this process. And once they are hired, if you take that action tonight, we'll notify them. We'll proceed over the next 30 or so days to finish up this transaction. We have done already a lot of the work. We have the rating call with the rating agency this week, and we anticipate that will go very well. And then we'll be back in front of you in November for final authority to sell these bonds with a certain parameters resolution that we will present to you. And they will likely be here with us and answer questions that you may have about the rates that we think are applicable to the sale of the refunding bonds. As I mentioned, we anticipate right now about $2.7 million in savings. It's a little over 7%. The GFOA recommends that if you have savings of 3% or more, it's a transaction you should pursue. I'm happy to answer questions that you might have.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Anybody have any questions?
I just have one.
Okay.
The per bot on the fee, is
Yes,
that per $1,000?
yes, it is, Bob. Yes. Yeah. And that is all built into.
Okay,
So the savings that I quote you are on net.
okay, okay.
But the estimated cost of issuance, which we have at this point not completely fine tuned because we haven't hired an underwriter yet, and they won't be paid as much as we assumed, about $300,000. Yeah. And the issuance will be roughly 33 million. Now you notice there's more bonds outstanding than that, as Jeremy mentioned. But two things. Currently, the 26 bond, the one that comes due March the 1st of 26, that's not callable. That's already in your budget. You're going to pay that. The two final maturities at the present time don't save enough money to warrant being included in this transaction. Now, one of those, that could change in the next couple of weeks, depending on what the Fed does. That we may be coming back to you and saying, okay, now we're going to include that maturity and refund it because it works. So there's a little bit of a floating target there, but not much. So we also anticipate these bonds will be sold at a premium. And what that means is your credit rating is high and there's going to be a market for these bonds. So we can get investors to buy them at higher than face value.
That's great.
Yeah. It's really, you just saw your audit. You guys are in a really nice position.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Michael.
Sure. And thank you for moving us up. That was very thoughtful.
So I'm going to ask for a motion. Move to approve resolution 25-008, authorizing and directing the executive director of Consolidated Public Library District Number 3, aka Mid-Continent Public Library, to retain an underwriter related to potential offering and sale of certificates of participation for the district. So can I get a motion in a second?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Having none, Teresa, would you call it?
Trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Greg,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Young, trustee Lazio,
Aye.
trustee Pandolfi,
Aye.
trustee Step,
Aye.
trustee Thewas, trustee Thompson,
Aye.
trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, Jeremy. Michael again. Oh, thank you, Michael.
Okay, just real quickly, when the budget was being put together, we had made a assumption about how much we were actually going to spend in the grant and gift fund. The actual expenditures, not the auditor done, were about 13,000 less than that. So we need your approval to have the authority to spend that money in the current fiscal year. So we're requesting a resolution to amend the grant and gift fund budget by $13,000 so that those projects that have already been awarded can continue.
All right, so we're gonna ask for a motion in a second on recommendation from the Finance and Audit Committee. Move approval resolution 25-007 that the adopted 25-26 fiscal year budget be amended to increase expenditures in the grant and gift fund 16 in the amount of $13,000. Have a motion and second.
I so moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion, first and second, and any discussion?
Do we have a plan for that money?
Yes, it's a few tabs back, sorry, I think that's it. Yeah. So, the middle section would be the amended budget. So, the very far right column is the net effect of the budget amendment. The way the board policy is currently written is that the grant and gift fund is at the fund level. So that's why we're just asking for 13,000, but by program, project and grant, you can see it on the far right of that sheet. That's also on board docs.
That's your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments or anything? All right, Teresa, would you please take the vote, please?
Trustee Burgo,
Aye.
trustee Greg,
Aye.
trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Young.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio.
Aye.
Trustee Pandolfi.
Aye.
Trustee Step.
Aye.
Trustee Thewes.
Yep.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
And trustee Wyckoff.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries.
All right, thank you. So move on to financial reports and Jeremy, back to you.
All right. I believe so, yeah. One more, or, yep, right there. Okay, thank you. So this slide is looking at the property taxes collected for the district from July 1 through September 30th. We have collected $743,643 in the current fiscal year compared to last fiscal year, which was right at $995,000. The main reason for this is actually due to a software conversion in Jackson County. So much like we just underwent a software conversion on our financial system, they underwent one for their tax collection system, and as a result are quite a few weeks behind. So we believe over the course of October and November that we'll get caught up. The next slide is looking just at cash, as we spoke about a little bit during the audit. Cash and short-term investments for the general fund finished at the end of September with 15.2 million, which is about 14 million more than last year. So we've had a significant turnaround in our cash position. As a result, we don't believe we'll need to borrow off the line of credit as we have done the last several years. So good news on that front. Moving on to the next slide, looking just at the general fund. No surprise here, since the majority of the revenue is from property taxes and we did not collect that. The general fund revenue collected about $1.1 million, or 56% of what we had anticipated in the budget. Our expenditures were 13.19 million, which is about 77% of what we had projected for an operating deficit in the current year of about 12 million. The next slide is the capital project fund. We really haven't had a lot of activity there, so I'll go ahead and move on to the last slide, which should be health insurance. And the health insurance fund has collected just over $907,000, about 17% of the annual budget, and has expenditures of just under 49,000, excuse me, about 8% of the annual budget for expenditures. And so as of right now, we have an operating surplus for the year of $458,086. That concludes the financial report for September. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Anybody have any questions for? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Great job. Reports and presentations, finance and audit committee, Ron Thewes.
We need a committee met immediately before this board meeting, and that's a change in our scheduling too. The Finance and Audit Committee met immediately preceding this meeting. And that was a change in our typical times for meeting. Because this way it hopefully facilitates the presentation of material to us and the full board, not having that gap of a couple of weeks between the two that previously necessitated a lot more work for our executive staff here. We received essentially the same information which is presented to the full board, as well as having passed on to the board the two matters that were recently voted upon.
All right. Moving along, staff reports, turn it over to Aaron.
All right. Now it's you. I apologize for the false start there. We've invited Steve Broadkoff to speak to us today, as I've referenced in the email that we sent last week, I believe it was. Steve's worked with our team on, I would say, planning in uncertain environments. I think would be a good way of describing it, but I'm going to turn it over to you, just share a little bit about your experience with us, and then you'd ask. Thank you.
Everybody, can you hear me? Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit about my background, and then I'll talk about what I did and how I can help. So I was the Deputy Senior Intelligence Officer for all ground forces that went into Iraq in 2003. So all the Army, all the Marines, and we also had some responsibility for Special Forces. In that position, I was in all the planning meetings. I was, I was a pretty senior guy, and I was the intel guy. So I was in a lot of meetings. And what happened in those meetings is we talked to a lot of people who knew a lot more about Iraq than we did, and we ignored everything they had to say. Okay. And they told us that we didn't understand the culture, we didn't understand the problems, we didn't understand the environment, and we went ahead with our plan. And afterwards, I was sort of haunted by this. And so I started to say, well, why? I mean, we didn't want things to go poorly. We didn't want our friends or Iraqis to die unnecessarily. So what happened? And what I learned about were things like ignoring disconfirming evidence. You look at a really complex problem, you study it for a while, and you think you have an answer, and somebody comes up to you and they say, well, you know what, you should really consider X, Y, and Z. They weren't part of your planning process. And you have two choices at that point. You can say, I looked at this, I think I got it. Or you can step back and relook at it, right? And we chose the first. So I convinced the Army to build a program around out of the lessons learned from Iraq, how do we make better decisions? And our challenges are really posited by the world we live in today. So there's an acronym called VUCA. I don't know how many of you are familiar with VUCA. A VUCA environment is volatile, or volatile meaning the rate of change is greatly increased, right? So if you act on a system, any system, everybody in that system got one of these, right? They immediately see you act, they immediately start to react. So the rate of change is much faster, volatile, right? It's uncertain. Not only is it changing very quickly, but you don't know what direction it's going to change in, right? It's very hard to predict the future, right? I mean, people used to talk about black swans. We have black swans on a regular basis, things that happen that nobody anticipates. Okay, it's complex. So talk a little bit about complexity. The illustration I use is this. Well, let's say you had all the parts to build a car, and you had all the schematics to build a car, you had all the tools to build a car, and you had the skill set to build a car. You could, in your garage, build that car because the car is complicated. But when you get in the car and you drive down the street, you're now facing a complex problem because a little kid can put a basketball in the street, run after that basketball. It could have rained the night before. There's a tree in the road. It is a new problem each day, even if it's the same community. That is a complex problem. Complex problem. When you act, there's going to be second and third order effects. You have to spend time thinking about it. It's different than a complicated problem. So volatile, right? Uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So it's even hard to tell what's going on, right? Because sometimes you don't even know what happened until after it's already finished. So in this VUCA world, you have to change the way you plan. And the school that the Army built, that I ran for a number of years, was about how do you do that? And so the principles are, one, you need divergence of thought before convergence on a solution. You need to have tools and methods that get people to think creatively and critically and originally about ideas. Why? Because the future is always emergent. I don't care how many people you get in the room, how smart they are, how long they spend in that room planning the future. The future is going to turn out differently than that future, right? It may be similar, but it won't be identical because the world is VUCA, right? So what does that mean? It means you can't pick a future and plan to. Right now, you can say, I hope the future is like this, and this is the way I'm going to plan. But your plan has to be agile. You have to be able to adjust as the future emerges. So the more divergent you think about the problem originally, the more agile you are. Because you say, you know, I picked this course of action because I thought the world was going to look like this. And I rejected that one. But you know what? The world turned out more like that than it did like this. I can flex because I thought more widely, more broadly about the problem originally. Okay? So how do you do that? Well, it doesn't happen like people saying, think, right? It just doesn't happen. In any organization, we are social animals, okay? And we yield to the power. We self-censor. I'm convinced that the Dalai Lama and the Pope have people around them who don't tell them the truth. Not because they're bad people, right? But because people self-censor. They hold themselves in. So you need to use tools and methods, and that's what our school is about. So how do you get people to give you the truth? Anonymously, right? Or you do role play. You change somebody's way of thinking by giving them a different assignment. They have a different job. They have to think at the problem through a different lens, right? So there are all sorts of methods. Our school is all about teaching those methods. And another thing that we didn't do that you have to do, and I'm really glad that Aaron and Jim and the team are doing this, is you have to take time to look at a problem through alternative perspectives, right? Now, a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but this is absolutely true. In the first 2 years after we defeated Saddam in Iraq, there were planning meetings around the future of Iraq. And the one person item, I don't know how to describe it, that wasn't allowed in the room when we did these planning meetings were any Iraqis, okay? Because we didn't trust the Iraqis. So we planned how we were going to rebuild their country without any of them in the room. That's completely opposite of what you really need to do. You need to reach out and get alternative perspectives. When I first went to Iraq, I think most of us believed that inside every Iraqi was just a little American trying to get out, and they wanted what we wanted. And that was simply not true. And so how do you develop alternative perspectives? You need to reach out to stakeholders. You need to find out what they think. You need to, find out what they value. And you guys are doing that now. And then finally, you need to think about alternative futures because you can't control the future. You guys, no matter what your job, no matter how powerful or influential you may be, you cannot control the global economy. Global economy is going to be the global economy, and it can go north, south, or stay the same. And those things may have different impacts for how you plan. And there are other things you cannot control. You guys cannot control what AI turns into, and it may have a direct impact on some of the choices that you make. So you have to think about alternative futures. So I led this team through a series of exercises around that so that they could develop a broader perspective as they did planning. And they asked me to come and talk to you about it. I'll close by saying I'm a huge fan of libraries, right? Neither of my parents went to college. They were both autodidacts, and they really believed in reading. And I told this story to Aaron and Jim. When I was a kid, my mother would not allow me to read the Hardy Boys. She said, if you want to read adventure stories, you read Robert Louis Stevenson. Okay? That's a classic, and it's better than the Hardy Boys, right? And every summer she would give me assignments over the summer. So when I was 12, she said, okay, you can read all of the Sherlock Holmes stories, and we're going to talk about each one at breakfast the following day. And then when I was 16, it was you had to read all of Shakespeare's plays. And it really helped me in the SATs. And, I got into West Point and I had no connections. And that was all because of all that reading. So I'm a big fan of libraries. If there's anything I can do to help you guys as you struggle with the future and plan, Aaron and Jim know how to get a hold of me, and I'm more than willing to help. I hope I met the bill of what you guys wanted me to come and talk about, and I didn't take up too much of your time. With that, I'll take questions or ad hominem attacks, whatever you guys want. All right.
Any questions?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all. Thanks for what you do. It's really important. Appreciate it.
All right, I mean, as you all are aware, we're beginning this strategic planning process, and what Steve articulated here is how we're approaching our planning process, right? We all understand that we need to bring in as many stakeholders with different viewpoints as possible, and we need to plan for a future that none of us are able really to predict. So invaluable experience working with him, and we're grateful that he donated his time to the library. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, so I'm going to bring Pete up here to speak about the MLA conference and one other topic that might be of interest. We invest a lot of time in the development of our staff, and we sent a number of people to the MLA conference this year, and B is here to give us a brief overview of that experience. B?
Yeah, so good evening, everybody. And if you don't remember me from last time or haven't met me yet, I am B Love. I'm the Associate Director of the Collections Services, and that means I oversee collection development, technical services, which is your cataloging and interlibrary loan. And I'm here today to just give a brief overview of what happened at the Missouri Library Association, which was a couple of weeks ago on October 8th and 9th in St. Louis. So this year's theme was the joy of libraries, and we got together to talk about and celebrate how libraries bring joy to the people who use them, and to share the joy that we experience as workers with the library. So we did send 11 staff. Those were from collections, HR, reader engagement, and branch staff. On the next slide, you'll see the impact that sending your staff to conferences has on the library. So we do attend these conferences because it makes a place for us to have connections, to share stories, to pass along ideas and knowledge. And we get to pick up some practical tools along the way that we can use immediately. It fills staff with a new sense of renewal for our mission and values. And we get to unite over our common goals. And we like to thank the library for giving us the opportunity to attend these conferences. This is a list of the types of sessions that we had access to. I did accidentally put A on those slides. I apparently thought it was super important. But different staff members chose different sessions based on their interests and their focus at the library. So I attended a couple of sessions about workplace culture. And in those sessions, we focused on the differences between motivation, morale, and engagement, and how we can effectively work with our staff to keep them engaged in their jobs on a day-to-day basis. And do that on a small budget. I also attended a session about scholarly research that was presented by the University of Missouri. And because I oversee the electronic resources databases, this study included insights into how databases are used, who uses them, and how satisfied those users are with the electronic resources that they use, which are very similar to the ones that we purchase for our library. I'm also a graduate student right now for the second time. So as a scholar, I was also interested in how they are using those databases and in doing my own scholarly research for public administration. So one very important finding of that study that they did mention was that when researchers consult a librarian in the course of their research, they perceive a higher rate of satisfaction than if they only consulted their colleagues for the internet. So the data, it shows just how important librarians are and can be to the people that they serve. And that's very uplifting for the rest of us. Along with these sessions, I listened to other sessions about creating training for catalogers and documentation for cataloging procedures. It's not very often that we actually get cataloging sessions at the conferences, so we were excited to be able to attend those. And that validates a lot of the work that we already do in our technical services department. On the next slide, I spent a lot of time with our vendors. All of our vendors that we use were in attendance at the conference. That gives us face-to-face time. We don't get a lot of face-to-face time throughout the year. We usually on the phone. But unfortunately, due to our largest vendor, Baker and Taylor, closing down at the end of this year, we are having to shift a lot of our library collections to our other vendors. So I set up meetings, talked about how their services can help us, and we will be making those transitions over the next several weeks. So that is everything I had. Any questions?
Have we had anyone present at the jury, at the conference in years past from our system to?
Yes, we have had some in the past. We did actually have someone there this year. I do not remember which session they presented at, but we do usually have someone go and present from our library. I've been trying to come up with a topic of my own to go present, but I haven't come up with one yet.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. It may be, how do you shift when your biggest library vendor closes down?
That's a good presentation for you.
Yeah, we're actually very lucky because we diversified ahead of time. We did, but other libraries are not that lucky.
I'm glad you brought that up. So these positions are unique in that you're dealing with collection development, sourcing for materials, and curating collections. Recently, we've been getting questions from the public about how it is that we go about curating our collections, right? And I think giving people context and explaining the scale in which we work really helps, right? There's some maybe who aren't as knowledgeable about the scale of the work that we do, think that it's like a judgment call, like they're flipping through a catalog and deciding, well, I like this picture on this cover and not that one. But there's tools that we use to make informed decisions about how we curate a collection, and the work that B does is clearly outlined and is easily shared with the public, which I think clears up a lot of the confusion about how it is that a book arrives on our shelf. So B is responsible for managing that, what is that, 1.8 million unique title collection or in that neighborhood?
Something, I think it's 2.1 million.
Okay, well, so long as I'm not, so that's large, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's also managing the budget at the same time. And how many staff under you as well?
So there are 34 total staff under.
Right. So the silent giant within the system that really drives us and moves us forward. So thank you for giving us this presentation and thank you for the work that you do.
It was quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we give you a hand? Thank you.
Next up, we will hear from our Deputy Director, Susan Ray, just to give us some brief updates on capital projects that are happening.
Last month, if you recall, I went through several things that are on the agenda for this year. I am very happy to report that the Colburn Road entrance to the Colburn Road branch is complete and open. So no one is having to make questionable U-turns to get into the branch now. We are still at Evergy's mercy for them to move their sectionizer on the west side. And until they do that, the west side won't be constructed. But this one is done and everyone is very happy with it. If you've not been out there and not tried it, I please encourage you to go do that.
Okay.
It is very, very nice. And then I also reported that the Midwest Genealogy Center roof, we were getting ready to award the contract for that. Not knowing exactly when that would be done. We thought it would probably happen in the spring. That week we did award the contract. JR and Company is the roofing company that we are going to use, and they are actually going to start next week. So it will be done prior to winter, so we don't have to worry about melting snow and is it going to melt into the library. So that should be done in the next several
great.
weeks. That's where we are on those projects.
Thank you, Susan.
I do have a question on Colburn.
Yep.
So, because I drive by every day to see, is there going to be a light at that exit or not?
At the U-turn,
at-
where we turn in,
Where now everybody's trained properly, because there's a lane for them to turn and.
it's my understanding that the light, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be at the corner between the library and the convenience center. It's not at the turn lane.
Yeah, and I thought we were having a light there at the turn lane, but it's okay.
No.
You still take a shot at when you make a left turn if you're coming out of there like I did today, because you've got to watch that traffic on the right side. So I prefer a light, which I thought we were going to have. So it's done. It's done. Okay.
It's different time because Coburn Road from 350 to to Douglas is finally opened up after what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, they just did the ribbon cutting Monday or yesterday, I think.
Yesterday.
Okay, yeah. All right. Library Lovers has had a great month and we've put on a couple of great events that I've asked Diana to give you a brief overview of, just to give us a little update here. So Diana, if you could step up and talk about all your great work.
Thanks, Aaron, and good evening. We've had a very busy but exciting month in October. And I know that some of you attended a couple of events that we put on earlier this month. So October 12th, we welcomed Mitch Albom. I'm sure that many of you have heard of Mr. Albom. He is the top-selling memoirist of all time with his Tuesdays with Maury book. But we had an opportunity to bring Mr. Albom to the Woodneath Auditorium on October 12th. And so we did that as a library lovers event. So for our library lovers, we try to create unique experiences so we can develop relationships with folks who are good friends and champions of the library. So this was just a great opportunity to do that as a thank you to our library lovers, but also as a recruitment tool for new members. And so we had 356 people on that Sunday, and I think we're at about 73 to 75 new library lovers members as a result of that particular event. And so we were super fortunate to be on Mr. Albom's tour. He had released this book on October 7th, and he was in our library on October 12th. So that was great timing. I will tell you, Mr. Albom did donate his time for the event. We did purchase books, which actually worked out really well. We were able to give a copy to everybody who attended, whether they were a library lover or a member of the general public. We were also able to help be out with the massive waiting list that the library had for this book. So we had some additional books that we were able then to give to be to put into the collection and be able to satisfy that wait list. And we also created a book club kit through Readers Engagement Services with some of the extra books that we have. And so if you'd like a copy of this book and you don't have it, then let me know afterwards. I'd be very happy. Okay, I see one hand at least. So, but yeah, each person received a complimentary copy. We did fill the entire Woodneath Auditorium. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. We had a lot of really fun social media posts, and I just threw these in because I just happened to see these on my own, like later that day. So it's just really fun. I just clipped those off of Facebook because they just kept popping up. And so people were just so happy to have heard him. And it was a delightful and very inspiring message about faith and family and having second chances. So I felt like it was very, very uplifting. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We did get a really nice story on Fox 4 about the event. And so that's online if you'd like to see it, and the story links to the QR code. I do have to say thank you to Brad and Carla Hughes, who I really thrust at the reporter when he asked about a library lover to interview. And I said, Brad and Carla, I think we'll do it. And they did a beautiful job. And I just told them that actually Mitch Album's Instagram page also has an interview with Brad. So you guys were sort of the rock stars of the afternoon that day. So thank you for doing that. You can go to the next slide. So again, part of what we do with Library Lovers is try to create those unique experiences. It's difficult because everything we offer is free. And so what we try to do is just special opportunities for folks. And so we have a couple of other things coming up. We're partnering with Monkey Brain Art, which is a veterans art organization. And we've got an exhibit opening on Thursday evening, if you'd like to come. And then we have Milk and Cookies with Mr. Stinky Feet, who's got a brand new Halloween book out. And we have about 160 people signed up for that one on Saturday. And then we have a coffee and beignets experience at the Culinary Center. So you're all welcome to join us for that. We just ask that you RSVP for that and let us know. But we just wanted to share kind of the really fun experience that we had with Mr. Album. So.
Thank you, Diana.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diana. Yeah. Oh, it's me. It's you. Well, there's no unfinished business. Yeah, no unfinished business. We'll go on to my report. I'll keep it very brief. 2 days prior to the Mitch Album event, we hosted another event as a part of the Heartland Book Festival. And the Heartland Book Festival is primarily financed by the Missouri Humanities Council. And for years, I think, was in Kansas City proper and managed by the Kansas City Public Library. 2 years, however, this year we decided to partner with Kansas City Public Library and the Humanities Council and host the kickoff event at Woodney. And it was a wonderful event, and you'll see more pictures of it next year, I believe. Trustee Thompson was in the room. We had author Percival Everett in a moderated conversation with a young man named Jared Bush, who works for Fox 4. And I think everyone would agree who attended that it was a magnificent event. And there is a recording of it that you can watch. I believe that link was sent out to everybody on the board. And if not, let us know and we'll send it to you. But it was a wonderful evening and a thought-provoking conversation for sure. These big events matter. They raise the profile of the library. They bring new people to the foundation side of things. And I'm very proud of them. However, kind of underneath the surface is a constant flow of programming that occurs at all of our locations. I mean, this past year, there were 4,969 branch level programs. And these could be everything from a plant swap to the creative aging program. And if you look on pages 4 and 5, you can learn more about them. I think our Reading Rocket was out at Plant City for the annual Fall Festival. There was Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention. And fall prevention, plant swap. Oh, there's an Ike Eisenhower program as well. I bring this up because it's easy to focus only on these higher profile events and lose sight of the events that occur weekly in our neighborhood branches that are also a draw. And tens of thousands of people attend those every year. We devote a lot of time and resources to making those events happen. And we're very appreciative of the work of the Reader Engagement Department so we can have these opportunities available for people. So take a look at our monthly report. You can learn more about these events. And I've just been thinking, I've asked actually that staff put some of these on my radar. I'm not all that crazy about being behind the podium in front of an auditorium with people, but I do it because it's why you hired me. But I do want to make an effort from time to time to go something like a plant swap, you know. They're really meaningful programs that I think keep us connected to the community. And I just want to put that on your radar. And I would encourage all of you to attend one as well. So that really is what I wanted to talk about in the monthly report. And I think you've gotten more than enough information today.
unless you want to do an extended session, we could have Jeremy talk more about
Yeah.
the audit, really get into the weeds there. Yeah. But on that note, I was thanked and Jeremy was thanked for all the work that went into the audit. But I will say that Jeremy's team really worked overtime to make it happen. They had some staffing changes. They had to bring in new people to make that work possible. And so we're very thankful that his team was able to meet this deadline and get the audit in time for submission to the state. On to announcements. Actually, beginning tomorrow, a group of us will be going to Cincinnati for the ULC Annual Leadership Forum. I don't believe we'll be having a building committee meeting, but there are two presentations that will be occurring in the next 2 months in Platte County and Clay County. And for the new Platte County trustees, we always extend the invitation to you. If you'd like to join us for our presentation to the commission, we welcome you to join us. So Platte County will be on October 27th, 3 p.m. And Clay will be at the county courthouse on November 13th at 6 p.m. And lastly, we're closed for Thanksgiving on November 27th. But we'll talk about that once again when we meet on the 18th. And that concludes my remarks and my announcements. And you're raising your hand. What did I miss?
I was going to say, and once we get the appointment for Jackson County, I'll let you all know.
Right. Yep. Some staffing changes over there in Jackson County.
Yes.
But I believe that's settled and we've been in contact with them and that date is forthcoming. All right. On to the next slide.
Trustees' comments. Anyone have any comments they'd like to share?
Michael?
Oh, yes.
I'd just like to say that I echo what Aaron was talking about with the presentations, especially the author presentations, some of the big ones, but just enjoy your library. It's hard work sitting at this table. Reap some of the benefits by going out and visiting the libraries and enjoying all these wonderful programs that people have been raving about. That's all.
I totally agree with that, Joyce London. Just, I'm sorry, Diana, that I missed the book, so I wouldn't mind one of those books. I happened to be out of town and I didn't get back till early Monday morning, so I was not able to get that. But I love the library lovers events; those are so special. So I'd encourage all of us, if you haven't been to library lovers, they're fabulous. And Diana does such a great job. Thank you. Yeah. And I would like to say, Jeremy, I'm glad it's you and not me. You did a fabulous job. That's not how my mind works, so I don't, but I appreciate you so much. I just want to tell you that face to face that, boy, thank you for all the hard work that you put into this publication and budgeting and all the stuff that's been going on. Kudos. Thank you.
Thank you. Parents and a great team.
Yes. Yes, Jimmy.
I'd just like to echo the comments by the director on the Percival Everett event. It was a really nice event. I was happy to be there. Sorry I missed the one on 12. And as a little anecdotal story here, a friend of mine gave me a book, True Stories of the Unsolved and Unexplained Myths and Mysteries of Kansas. It's by Diana Lambden Meyer. And while going through the acknowledgements, I don't know why I read the acknowledgements, but I did. Part of the acknowledgement was the staff at the Parkville branch of the Mid-Continent Public Library deserves a special thank you for their numerous searches, special orders, and patience with my impatience. I thought that was a neat little standout there to the staff of the Parkville branch. And, look forward to reading that book. That's one of my reading style. Believe it or not, I'm not a romanticon. That was a nice event too.
Right. Anyone else? Any comments? Yes.
Yeah, I like to be the third or fourth echo in this, and just acknowledge what Diana and Richie and so many do. And specifically refer to the lit up. It was a program by which we have young adults, children, present their writings and go through competition. And when you look at their work and then look at them, you see, you clearly see a very masterfully put together writing. And then you look at them and they don't have driver's licenses yet. I mean, these are all clearly, future Mensa members, but it was just phenomenal. And this gave an environment by which these kids can express and get thanks and appreciation and acknowledgement for their talents. And again, it's just typical of the great stuff. And also too, if you have a chance to get on YouTube and just look under MCPL, the array of offerings is so extensive. It's an absolute treasure. I guess the last comment is whoever's in charge of the marketing, Jim and everybody else, much appreciation. This morning, for example, local television was on site. It's a dreadfully early hour, but they were right there up at Whitney's giving a presentation of a setup for another program. And it's just phenomenal, the work that's being done here in the ranches.
It's our Facing the Future series tomorrow night.
That's what, yeah.
Anyone else? All right. I have a motion to adjourn. Second, okay. All right. All in favor? Aye.